Hello everyone, I am Bhavna Sharma, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce, GemTech Greater Noida. In previous lecture, we have discussed classification of ratios. We have started with liquidity ratios, current ratio, quick ratio, and super quick ratio. So we have already discussed the meaning and formulas of these ratios. In this lecture, we are going to discuss the numerical question. Now, an example is that we have to calculate current ratio, quick ratio, and super quick ratio from the following information. Inventories are given 50,000, trade receivables are 50,000 rupees, advance tax is 4,000, cash and cash equivalents is 30,000, trade payables is given rupees 1 lakh, short term borrowings as 4,000 rupees, and furniture as 2 lakh rupees. Now, based on this information, we have to calculate the liquidity ratio. So the formula for current ratio is current assets divided by current liabilities. So from the question, first we have to identify what are the current assets, and out of the information, which are the current liabilities. So current assets given in the question are inventories, trade receivables, advance tax, and cash equivalents. So that information is already given, like inventories are given 50,000, trade receivables are 50,000, advance tax is 4,000, and cash equivalents is 30,000 rupees. So total of current assets is 1,34,000. Now, then we have to see what are the current liabilities. That is trade payables, which is 1 lakh, and short term borrowings, which is 4,000. So total of current liabilities is 1,04,000. So simply we have to just divide the current assets with the current liabilities. So 1,34,000 divided by 1,04,000 would be 1.29:1. You can also comment on the ratio, like I've already told you that current ratio should be at least twice of the current liabilities. 2:1 is the ideal ratio. So after paying off the current liabilities, the company must have the current assets. So this is not an ideal ratio. So the liquidity ratio of this particular company is not good, as current assets are only 1.29 times as that of 1. So not a very good position. Now next we have to calculate quick ratio. Quick ratio formula is quick current assets upon current liabilities. So if we deduct the stock and prepaid expenses from the current assets, we are left with quick current assets. So either you can deduct the inventories and the advance tax is the prepaid expense, or you can just add the quick current assets items like trade receivables and cash equivalents. So 50 plus 30 would be 80,000 are the quick current assets. Current liabilities, you don't have to calculate again. We have already calculated in current ratio. So that is 1,04,000. So quick current assets upon current liabilities would be quick ratio. Now quick ratio is 0.76:1. Again, we can comment on this that ideal quick ratio should be 1:1. So quick current assets should be equal, at least equal to the current liabilities of the company, because the current liabilities have to be paid out of quick current assets, out of cash equivalents, or cash at bank, cash at hand, marketable securities, or the amount that is recovered from the debtors. So now in this situation, the quick current assets are less than current liabilities. So company is not in a position to pay off the current liabilities. They have to take loan or resort to some other modes to make payment for the current liabilities. So again, the quick ratio is not good for this company. Now next is super quick ratio. Super quick ratio is simply the cash and cash equivalents divided by current liabilities. So in this question, only cash and cash equivalents were given, that is 30,000. Current liabilities again would be same, 1,04,000. So super quick ratio is 0.028 is to 1. So ideal super quick ratio should be 0.5 is to 1 again. So by looking at these three ratios, these all are the liquidity ratios. So we can see that the short-term solvency position of this particular company is not good by looking at these three ratios. Now next we are going to discuss the stability ratios. Now stability ratios also tell us about the solvency position, but they tell us about the long-term solvency position of the firm. Like in the previous lecture, we have discussed about the financial ratios. In the financial ratios, we have uh, two types of ratios, that is liquidity ratios and stability ratios. So liquidity ratios we have already discussed. Now these are different types of stability ratios. So fixed asset ratio, debt equity ratio, proprietary ratio, debt to total funds ratio, interest coverage ratio, and capital gearing ratio. So stability ratios helps in ascertaining long-term solvency of a firm, which is based on three factors. First, whether the firm has adequate resources to meet its long-term funds requirements, whether firm has used appropriate debt equity mix to raise long-term funds, and last, whether the firm earns enough to pay interest and installment of long-term loans in time. So when we talk about the long-term solvency position, we are talking about the long-term funds. So here we'll talk about only the long-term funds, not the short-term funds. So shares, debentures, reserve, surplus, these are all the long-term funds. So the company should have the long-term funds so as to invest in the long-term assets. They should have an optimal debt equity ratio, and they should have enough profits so as to pay the interest, like the company has taken loan or the company has issued debentures, so they have to regularly pay the interest to them. So stability ratios also helps us to judge the long-term financial position of the company. We can get to know about the ability of firm that they can pay off the long-term debts on time. And these ratios are useful for creditors, long-term creditors and borrowers. And this is also known as the balance sheet ratio because all the long-term funds are given in the balance sheet. Now, these are the different ratios and the formula for calculating these ratios. We'll discuss one by one. First is fixed assets ratio. Now, fixed assets ratio explains whether the firm has raised adequate long-term funds to meet its fixed asset requirements. This ratio establishes the relationship between long-term funds and the fixed assets. So, from the name it is clear that we have to calculate the ratio of fixed assets with the long-term funds because these are their stability ratios. Now, since the financial management advocates that fixed assets should be purchased out of long-term funds only. So the formula for calculating fixed asset ratio is net fixed assets of the firm divided by long-term funds. Now, ideal ratio is 0.67 is to 1. That means 67% of the long-term funds, if invested in net fixed assets, that is good. But it should not be more than 1. That means the company has, if it is more than 1, the company has taken or invested the long-term assets out of short-term funds also. Now, what are long-term funds? We'll take the equity share capital, preference share capital, the all the reserves, whether it is general reserve, capital reserve, any type of reserves, securities premium, the profit and loss account balance if it is given in the balance sheet, and we will deduct the fictitious assets, like if there is preliminary expenses, discount allowed on issue of shares, there is loss incurred on issue of shares or debentures. So only fictitious assets would be deducted. Now next ratio is debt equity ratio. Debt equity ratio means the relationship between debt and equity. Debt means long-term funds, equity is the capital of the firm. So all the long-term nature liabilities would be there in the debt equity ratio. So debt upon equity, debt would be any long-term loans, debentures, that means outside liabilities, and equity is again the equity shares or preference share capital, reserves and surplus. Now debt equity ratio is debt upon equity. So lower the ratio, better it is. That means if debt equity ratio is more than 1, that means there is more dependence on debt than equity. So that is not a very good situation, because that seems to be the burden for the company. So 1 is quite satisfied. 1:1 is the ideal ratio, we can say. Now next is proprietary ratio. Proprietary ratio indicates the extent to which total tangible assets are financed by the owner's fund. Like fixed asset ratio, we have taken the net fixed assets. Here we'll take only the tangible assets. Now, proprietary ratio is used to evaluate the soundness of the capital structure of a company. So, if the ratio is high, it means a company has sufficient amount of equity to support the functions of business, and it has more room in its financial structure to take on additional debt. While low ratio means a business may be making use of too much debt or the creditors rather than equity to support the operation. So proprietary ratio formula is net worth of the company upon the tangible assets into 100. Now net worth means the equity share capital, preference share capital, reserves and surplus, that is the shareholders fund. Again, we'll deduct any kind of fictitious assets from the net worth. Now, we can get 100% ratio if there is no borrowing for purchasing of assets. Now, this ratio is important for the investors because the presence of high percentage of shareholders' funds means there is little danger of winding up. So, higher the ratio, better it is. So, higher the ratio, greater the long-term stability of the firm. Greater would be the protection to the creditors. Low ratio means company is depending more on the debts. And very high ratio may not be taking full advantage of debt financing for its operation. That is also not a good sign for the stockholders. Next is debt to total fund ratio. Again, from the name it is clear, we are calculating the relationship between debt to the total fund. So formula would be debt, that is long-term debt, upon total funds. Debt would be again long-term loans or debentures, and total funds means debt as well as equity of the firm, total funds, internal as well as external funds, and again we'll deduct any kind of fictitious assets. Now next ratio is interest coverage ratio. It is a measure of company's ability to meet its interest payments. It is a measure of number of times a company could make interest payments on its debts with its EBIT. It determines how easily a company can pay interest expenses on outstanding debt. So we get to know how many times the interest charges are covered by the earnings. So it simply tells us that whether the company has enough earnings to pay off the interest on time. So the formula for calculating interest coverage ratio is earnings before charging interest on long-term debt and taxes upon interest on long-term debts. So lower the ratio, higher the company's debt burden and greater the possibility of bankruptcy or default. And lower ratio means less earnings are available to meet interest payments and business is more vulnerable to increase in interest rate. So when a company's say interest coverage ratio is 1.5 or lower, its ability to meet interest expenses may be questionable. Now last one is capital gearing ratio. Capital gearing ratio tells us the relationship between the shareholders funds and fixed cost bearing funds. So equity shareholders funds upon fixed cost bearing funds. Fixed cost bearing funds means those funds for which the company has to pay a fixed cost. So if the amount of fixed cost bearing funds is more than equity shareholders funds, capital structure, we say that the company's capital structure is highly geared. And in the vice versa situation, if the fixed cost bearing funds is less than equity shareholders funds, we say that the company's lower geared capital structure. And if it is both are equal, then we say it is even geared. Thank you. That's all for today. The numerical of this ratios would be discussed in next lecture.